Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar on enhancing your VR project with Yulio. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Nicole. I'm one of the client success specialists here at Yulio, and I'll be hosting today's session. So, the main objective for today is to go over some of the ways you can take your VR projects to the next level with Yulio's many enhancement tools. This training will cover a lot of information, so if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to enter them in the question box, and I will answer them during the question and answer period at the end of our session. You'll also see my contact details on the screen now, so if you'd like to follow up on today's webinar with a complimentary training session on anything we did or didn't cover today, please feel free to reach out to me and I'll be happy to set that up with you. Lastly, if you do have to leave today's session early, I will be recording the full webinar and I will send that to all registrants a little later on today, so you'll be able to watch it and watch it back and share it with your team as well. So here's our agenda for the next half an hour or so. So we'll start off by going over how to upload your enhancement assets to your project. Next, I'll show you how to add these assets to your project using the Hotspot editor. I'll then go over how to view your project and trigger hotspots, and we'll finish off with that Q&A period. So I'm going to get started by logging into my Yulio account. Now, if you're new to Yulio, when you log into your account, you'll always land here on the projects page. So this is where you can create new projects and then where all the projects on your account will live. So the project that I'm going to be working with today was designed in CET, and I rendered it with Yulio Jump. So again, if you're new to Yulio, Yulio Jump is our cloud rendering engine that is available through the Yulio plugin for CET, Revit, and SketchUp. It is free to install and use for those with an active Yulio license. When you render your projects with Yulio Jump, a new Yulio project will be automatically created for you, and it will appear in your Yulio account like this. So this is the project I'm going to be working on, the Park Lounge project. So I'm going to open that up. So with Yulio Jump, select project assets such as your scenes can be uploaded directly to your new project. So right now I'm on the project edit page. And as you can see, I already have my project scenes uploaded here and ready to go. Now, you don't have to use Yulio Jump, so if you choose to render your scenes with another rendering engine, you can always manually upload those scene renders from your files just by clicking on this Browse button. You'll just want to make sure that they follow our compatible upload formats, which you can always see by clicking here. Okay, so since my scenes are ready, which is the most important part, let's go through some of those project enhancement assets that we can upload. So if you take a look at my screen, you'll see here we have scenes, which are already uploaded, audio, images, video, AR models, and floor plan. For the purposes of today's webinar, I'm going to be taking advantage of all of our enhancement options you see here so that you can see how each of them can elevate your VR project. But please note that these are all optional. You can choose to include none, some, or all of them in your VR project. So I'm going to go to our first enhancement option here, which is audio. And there are a couple different ways we can incorporate audio into our VR experience. The first is through audio hotspots. So with an audio hotspot, we can place our chosen audio as a hotspot anywhere in our project. A couple of ways you can use audio hotspots are to insert a welcome message or describe a design choice. The second way we can incorporate audio into our project is through ambient audio. Ambient audio will automatically play when you enter a scene, so there's no hotspot associated with this audio. And a couple of ways you can use ambient audio would be to add music or background noise to your project to set a certain mood and just make the experience more immersive overall. If you're interested, we do offer sample audio files for you to download from the project resources page, which you can access by clicking on the resources tab at the top of your screen and selecting project resources. Regardless of your type of audio or how you will be using it, you will upload all of those files here. So I'm just going to click on Browse. and upload my ambience. And a welcome message as well. Okay, our next enhancement option is images. So here we can upload a JPEG or a PNG file and add it as an image hotspot anywhere in our project. Some ways you can use image hotspots are to show your client a real life product shot, a material sample, or a before and after photo. Again, to upload the images, I'm just going to click on Browse and just go to my folder. Okay. Next, we have video. So, like images, you can insert video anywhere in your project as a video hotspot. A couple of different ways we see video being used are to incorporate product videos or to introduce the designer and maybe have them share some details about the design. All users with an active Yulio license have the option to add a YouTube video to your project. One thing to note with this option, though, is that YouTube videos cannot be viewed in Yulio on a VR headset. To add a YouTube video, it's super simple. You will just select the video you want, copy the URL, and then return back to Yulio and paste that URL here. In addition to this, Yulio does offer a premium video add-on. So with premium video, you can upload a video file directly from your computer, and it does allow you to view that video in browser mode and on a VR headset. Our next project enhancement is AR models, or augmented reality models. As you can see, I already have my AR models uploaded here because, like my scenes, they were generated during the rendering process with Yulio Jump. So the easiest way to create AR content for your Yulio VR project is using Yulio Jump. And AR asset creation is now available through the Yulio plugin for CET, Revit, and SketchUp. So if you're interested in learning more about adding AR to your Yulio projects, I encourage you to check out our user guides, which are available on the CAD plugins page. You can access the CAD plugins page by going to resources again and clicking on CAD plugins. So this is that page here. And you can just download the user guide depending on which is your preferred CAD tool. Okay, so the benefit of adding AR to your VR project is that you can bring certain objects in your project to life for your client. So, using just a phone, a tablet, or a VR headset, your client can actually see what the object will look like in the context of their own physical space. I'll go into this a little bit more later on, and you'll be able to try it AR for yourself as well. If you choose not to use Yulio Jump, you can always manually upload an AR model from your files as long as it, again, meets our compatible upload formats. Okay, moving on. The final enhancement option we have here is Floorplan. If you render with Yulio Jump, again, your floor plan can be automatically captured and uploaded to your project, which is why mine is already uploaded here. If you don't use Yulio Jump, again, you can always upload it manually. When you include a floor plan in your project, Yulio allows you to add location markers to that floor plan, which I will show you a little bit later on. These location markers will represent each of your scenes, and your client can use the markers to help them identify where they are in the space, as well as navigate to new scenes. Okay, so these are all the assets you can add to your project. You can always come back to this page at any time if you want to add more assets or remove assets. One great thing about Yulio is that you don't have to remember to save your changes along the way. So all of my changes have been saved for me. Okay, so now that I have all of my assets uploaded, my next step will be to open the hotspot editor and start adding those navigation and enhancement hotspots to my scenes using the assets I just uploaded. So to open the hotspot editor, you're just going to click on this big blue button. So let's go here. So when you open the editor, you'll see that you're in your first scene, and all your editing options will be available to you here along the left side. So Yulio makes it super easy to add your enhancements to your scenes just using a simple drag and drop method. So let's start here with the first tab. So this tab is labeled Scenes. And the scenes what we can see here correspond to the photos or camera views that I captured in CET and rendered with Yulio Jump. So these are those final renders. Within the hotspot editor, I can drag and drop these scenes into my project to create navigation hotspots. Navigation hotspots are Yulio's form of point-to-point navigation. So they can be used by your client to navigate your VR project and give them a sense of walking around the space. As you can see, my navigation hotspots have already been placed in my project. So I have view 2 and view 3 over here. So because I rendered with Yulio Jump, I have the option to add navigation hotspots to my scenes during the rendering process. So that's what I've done here, and it just saves me from having to manually do it myself. That being said, I typically do like to come into the hotspot editor to fine tune the placement of those hotspots and the size. So this is where I would go to do that. If you wanted to ever adjust the location of your hotspot, you can just select the hotspot and drag it to where you want it to be placed. Yulio Jump will typically place your hotspots kind of at eye level, but we've also seen users place them on the floor so that they don't take away from the scene. To edit the size of the hotspot, you would just click on the hotspot here and then select this pencil icon, and this will open up your hotspot properties. So from within the hotspot properties, you'll see this depth option here, which has this slider on it. So this is where you can adjust the size of your hotspot. And I say size, but technically what this tool is doing is actually making your hotspot appear closer or further away in VR, which helps the viewer distinguish between near and far. So I'll adjust the depth slider depending on how far away or close I want the hotspot to appear in relation to my current camera position or view. Another thing I can do within this hotspot, or actually I'll just show you what when I move the depth slider, as you can see, closer to near, the circle enlarges, and then if I move it further, it gets smaller. Okay. And some other things I can do within the hotspot properties are change the title of my scene, or I can hide the title altogether so that it doesn't show. I can also change the color of my hotspot. So white and black are the standard options here, but I can also open up this paint tool and choose any color I'd like. Okay, so if you're not using Yulio Jump, or if you choose to add your hotspots manually, all you would do is just drag and drop the hotspot into the scene. So I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm just going to drag it and drop it at the approximate location of that camera view. Okay. Another thing you don't want to forget is that you should add all of your navigation hotspots to all of your scenes to make sure that when you move to the next scene, you have those navigation hotspots in the next scene as well. So you don't want to just add them to the first scene. You have to remember to go through all your scenes and make sure those hotspots are added. If you don't render with Yulio Jump, if you render with Yulio Jump, they will be in all of your scenes for you. Okay, before moving down this line of options here, I do want to mention you'll probably notice a couple of other hotspots here. So these are the AR hotspots that were generated through Yulio Jump. So not only can Yulio Jump generate the AR model, but it will also place the hotspot for you in your scenes. So you'll notice these throughout all of my scenes as I continue moving on here, but we'll go over these AR hotspots in detail a little bit later. Okay, so moving on, we have audio. So audio hotspots have to be added manually. So what I'm going to do is just drag and drop my audio into my scene, and you can place it wherever you want. So this is just a welcome message here. I'm going to drag that over here. And once I drop the hotspot, again, I can edit my hotspot properties. And something I'm going to do here is actually adjust the title. I'm just going to shorten it to welcome. Um, this is mainly because longer titles don't look great if you're viewing from in a VR headset. So I like to keep them pretty short. I can also hide the title if I wanted to. And again, I can adjust the depth slider, but it looks about right where it is. So I'm going to keep it like that and press close. Okay, continuing down our list, I have text annotations or text hotspots. And I'm actually going to move to my next scene to add this hotspot. So to move to my next scene, I can click on the scene navigation hotspot and click on this jump to scene button, or I can just click on next scene arrow at the bottom of my screen. Okay, so I have moved to the next scene because ideally when you're creating and placing your enhancement hotspots, we recommend kind of sprinkling those hotspots throughout all of the scenes in your project. And this just helps keep your clients engaged as they move from scene to scene, and it also helps keep you from flooding one scene with a bunch of hotspots. So I'm going to go over here and add a text hotspot. So I'm going to click on that again and select create new annotation. So text hotspots are the only hotspot that you don't have to upload anything in advance for. So your text hotspots are created right here in the hotspot editor. And text hotspots are really just another way to engage your client as they're exploring your VR project. So some ways you can use text hotspots are to insert a welcome message, offer product details or specs, or provide any additional information about the space. So I've created my hotspot here, and I am just going to add all of the information that I need. So I'm going to use this text hotspot to provide some more details about this seating system here. So in the title, I'm going to write the product name. So this product name is Atelier, I think. And then next, I'm going to add a short product description. So I have up to 140 characters here. So I'm just going to write something short. Okay. And the next thing I could do here is add an external link. So this will be a clickable link that will be available under the description when your client activates the text hotspot. So first I'm going to just add the link title. So I'm going to add product details, and then I'm going to add the link. So I'm going to add a link to the product page. So here's that product page. I'm going to copy the link and paste. And then I'm just going to adjust the depth a little bit of my hotspot and press close. So now that I've added a link to that hotspot, when my client clicks on that link, they will be directed to the product page and they can find out some more information. Okay, moving down our list here to images. So here are the two images that I uploaded earlier on my project edit page. So I'm going to move over here in this direction. So this image here is a photo image of another combination of this modular seating. So I'm going to place the the hotspot over that seating, of course. And then I'm going to take a look at my hotspot properties. So I'm actually going to hide the title here. Sometimes I like to hide the titles of my hotspots just so they aren't taking away from the scene too much. And again, I can add an external link. So I'm going to write product details again and then link to that product page, which is here. And then adjust the depth slider a little. All right. The next hotspot we can add here is video. So here's that YouTube video that I uploaded earlier. And I'm going to move again to my next scene to add that in. So we do often see videos being placed on a screen just because it kind of makes sense to have them on a screen, but you can place them anywhere you'd like. Again, you're just going to click and drag the video where you want it. So this video is actually a product video for this chair here. So I'm going to place it on top of that chair. And then I'm going to hide my title of that again. And you can choose to add an external link here again. So if you wanted to, again, link to that product page, you could. And then I'm just going to adjust the depth again and press close. Okay, the last hotspot option here is AR. So like I said earlier, I rendered this project with Yulio Jump and Yulio Jump added the AR models to my render. So my AR hotspots have already been generated and placed in my project. Similar to navigation hotspots, though, sometimes the placement or the size of the hotspots that are generated through Jump can be slightly off. So I do like to come in to the hotspot editor and adjust them if needed. So if I opened this up here, I can just click on this pencil tab. And if I wanted to, I can add an external link here or adjust the size again, hide the title or turn on the title. Another thing I want to mention, I'm going to leave this as is for now, because another thing I want to mention is that when you're generating AR models out of Yulio Jump, Jump will place the AR model onto the object in every scene that you render. So for instance, looking over here, you can see that Jump has placed the AR hotspot on my models, but I'm kind of far away from them and you can't really see where they're placed from over here. So I personally don't think it makes sense to have it here. So I would actually just go in and delete the AR hotspots from this scene, but I'll keep them in my other scenes. So if I go to my next scene, which is view 1, they'll remain here. And I just think it makes more sense to have them here than in the other scene because you can just see the product better. Okay, moving on from hotspots. The next icon here is the floor plan. So I'm going to open that up. And what you can do in the hotspot editor to enhance your floor plan is add location markers that are associated with your scenes. Because I rendered with Yulio Jump and I selected add floor plan before rendering, all of my location markers have been accurately placed on the floor plan for me. However, if you didn't use Jump, you would be able to come into the hotspot editor here and add them manually just by, again, dragging and dropping them into the floor plan. So with these location markers, your client can easily identify where they are in your space. So depending on which scene they're in, the location marker will actually be highlighted blue. They can also navigate to a new scene from the floor plan by clicking on one of the markers. I will show you that a little bit later. Moving on, we have starting direction. So what starting direction allows you to do is just adjust the opening shot that the viewer will see upon entering a scene. So this is a nice tool if you want to adjust the starting direction of your first scene to kind of set up a beauty shot. So right now, my starting shot looks like this thumbnail here. So if I wanted to change it, all I would do is click and drag on this to adjust where I want the new scene to open to. So I would just adjust it and press apply. And then you'll notice in a little bit, this thumbnail will update to my new opening shot. All right, and if I ever wanted to remove that customization, I would just click on the reset to default and then press apply, and it'll reset to my default starting position. If you wanted to change the starting direction for additional scenes in your project, you'll just click on the next scene button and you can just repeat those steps. Okay, the last tab we have here is settings. So there's a handful of settings that you can turn on or off by just using this toggle button. Um, so under navigation controls, I'm going to start with the maintain direction when navigating by hotspots setting. So this setting enables forward gaze navigation. So forward gaze navigation means that when viewers navigate through your VR project using the navigation hotspots, they will enter each scene facing the same direction that they came from. So this helps to create a more natural walkthrough experience. This setting is turned on by default for all projects, but there are some steps you have to take for it to function properly. Please also note that this setting is only relevant for projects that include a floor plan and navigation hotspots. So one way to ensure forward navigation is functioning properly is before you render your project and you're setting up your camera positions, you want to make sure that they're set up facing due north. Um, if you do this, you won't need to follow any of these next steps. Um, However, if you don't do this, so if you don't set your camera positions to due north before rendering, you will have to manually create a relationship between your floor plan and your scenes in Yulio. So it sounds complicated, but I assure you it is not. So I'll just show you how to do that now. So first, again, you're just going to want to make sure this maintain direction when navigating by hotspots function is turned on. And then you're just going to go back to your floor plan. Sorry, you're also going to want to make sure that your show floor plan hotspot directions is also turned on. Now you're going to go back to your floor plan. So what I'm going to do here for forward gaze navigation to function properly is adjust the directions of these cones here. And I want to adjust them to match the target view that I see in the thumbnail. So starting with scene 1. So here's my thumbnail, and I just want to turn this view to match, or try and accurately match it as accurately as possible, but to match that view. So it's facing about here. That looks good. Now I'm going to change my next one. This one is facing just about here. And my final one is just right down this way. Again, you don't have to be perfect, but try and be as accurate as possible. And then that's it. So you can go back to your settings and you leave these on. And now when your client uses the navigation hotspots to move from scene to scene, they will enter the next scene facing the direction they came from. Okay, back to some of our other settings here. I'm going to turn on the show minimap. And what this will do is enable a minimap in the top right corner of your screen. And this will help your client see where they are within the project's floor plan, as well as which direction they are facing, since you set up, since we calibrated those cones. So I'll show you what that looks like. So here's this mini map. And as I move around, I can kind of see which way I'm facing. Okay. I will go ahead and leave that on. And the last setting we have here is show hotspot alignment grid. So you can turn this on just to help you accurately place your hotspots in your project. Okay, so that is all for settings. Now I'm going to go back to our enhancement assets for a minute. So if you recall, one thing that I haven't added to this project is ambient audio. So ambient audio is actually created outside of the hotspot editor. So I'm just going to exit the editor by clicking on this back button. And I can add ambient audio from the scenes tab here. So you can add ambient audio to one scene or all of your scenes. As I mentioned earlier, ambient audio will play as soon as your client enters the scene where you've added the audio. So to add audio to a scene, all you would do is click on this speaker button. And here are those two audio files I downloaded earlier or uploaded earlier. So to add one, you'll just click on the file, and then you'll be able to choose if you want it to loop indefinitely or loop just once. I usually like to play mine just once and then press save. And then if I want to add ambient audio to all of my scenes, I'll just repeat those steps. If you want to remove the audio at any point, you just come here and deselect the audio and press save. Okay, the final project enhancement I want to go over is scene options. So, scene options are something you can add to your project right away or as it develops. So, scene options allow you to show your client multiple versions of the same scene with different materials, lighting, furniture configurations, and so on. So, to create a scene option, you're going to start off by rendering your additional scene if you haven't already done so. If you're rendering an additional scene with Yulio Jump, Jump will actually create a new Yulio project with that scene. In order for you to add the additional scene to your existing project, you would go back to your project page, or projects page, I guess, and open your new project. So if I had rendered a new scene with a new project, I would end up with another project here. I would click into that new project and then download the scene, the additional scene that I want to add to my existing project or original project. Once it's downloaded, I would click on Browse in my new project and then download that existing or that new scene to my project. So, oops. So I'm going to show you what this would look like with another project. So here's another project, and Kitchen 2 would be that additional scene that I added to my project. And to group it as a scene option, I'll just click on these two lines and drag it to create a group. And then I'm going to expand it just by clicking on this arrow. So I have Kitchen 1 and Kitchen 2, so two versions of the same space. And then I can just rename my group to Kitchen Options. And that's it. So my scene option has been added, and I've created a new group. So now when I go to view the project, any project that has a scene option or scene options will have this tab at the bottom of the screen. And you can click on this to go back and forth between the two scenes or three scenes, however many options you add. And this just helps your client go back and forth between the different materials and configurations, and it can help them make faster decisions. Okay, just going to exit that and we'll return to our other project here. So now that I've added all of my enhancements and my hotspots, I am ready to go ahead and start viewing my project. So to view my project from this page here, I just click on this button, View in 360, and it will open my project in browser mode. So as you can see, all of my hotspots are here in the space. I have my AR, of course, and my navigation hotspots, and also that audio that I added earlier. So we can go ahead and test some of these out. Audio, I can play it, but I'm not sure that you'll be able to hear it. But to play it, you just click on it. And then here's my navigation. So we'll test out our forward gaze navigation. So when I click into this, scene, I should enter the same way facing the same direction that I entered. So that looks right, that functioned properly. And as you can see, here's our text hotspot. So we can click on that. And when I click on this link, the project page the product page, pops up. I think we also added an image here. So here's our image hotspot, and I can expand it by clicking on the hotspot. And then again, I have another link here if I wanted more information about this seating. And I can navigate again to view 3. And here's that video that I added. I'm not sure you'll be able to hear it, but there's the video. And we can go back to view 1, and I'll show you the AR. Actually, I want to show you our floor plan. So here's the floor plan, and here are those location markers. Where I'm standing, like I said, is blue, so that I can identify where I am in the space and which marker I'm at. And then, like I said, you can click on another location marker to pop into that scene. All right, so let's now try out AR. So if you haven't tried out AR with Yulio, now's your chance. So when you click on an AR hotspot in browser mode, this is what you will see. So you're kind of restricted to what you see here, and what I'm able to do here is just click and drag my mouse to view the product or object in full 360. To view the object in true AR from this page, I can click on this AR button here. And this QR code will pop up, and I can scan it just by opening the camera app on my smartphone or even a tablet. So when I scan this with my device's camera, this will open the AR object on my device, and I will be able to see the object in the context of my own surroundings. So as I mentioned earlier, this is an incredible tool for clients to see how a combination of furniture or any other object will fit into their space. So if you want to try it out now, you can go ahead and scan this QR code. You will just need to make sure that you have enough empty space around you to actually place the object or drop the object. So if you have a lot going on around you, it might not function properly, but you can always give it a shot. Once you open the object, you will be able to position it where you want it. You can scale it, walk around it. It's a really fun tool to play with. Okay, I'm just going to exit out of that now. And that will wrap up today's webinar. So I'm just going to return to my slides here. And that's all. So thank you all for joining me today. I hope that you were able to take away some tips for elevating your VR projects with Yulio. If you have any questions, you can submit them in the chat box now, and I will stick around for the next couple of minutes to answer those. As a reminder, if you want to book an additional training session with me on anything we covered today, my email's up on the screen, so please feel free to reach out and I'll gladly work with you to set up a time for us to meet. Of course, you can also contact me anytime if you have questions that might pop up later.